Welcome to From the Fishbowl, a podcast brought to you from the land of the Dharawal peoples, a place where you, the listener, gets unprecedented access to the tales shared by Judy Hannan MP, the Independent Member for Wollondilly, her staff, locals and experts in their field. My name is Ben Banasik, the Chief Advisor for Judy, and for our first episode, I'd like to welcome Judy.
Thank you.
That's okay. It's your own podcast. I feel a bit awkward introducing and inviting you and introducing you.
Well, I can't say thank you for welcoming me because, we're here.
Yeah, that's right. How do you feel?
I've had an exciting couple of weeks. I can't believe it still that I'm sitting in here. But I'm having an absolute ball, and I think we're making impact. People know who the Independent for Wollondilly is. There's no matter of, who's that person there anymore. They know. They keep calling me some of the names relating to things in the area, such as the Minister for the Picton Bypass, because I think they're sick of that. And making lots of good networking in all sides of politics. Yeah, absolutely.
I guess I get it a little bit from the inside here, so it's kind of funny going back to the electorate and talking about how things are. You are crossing over a lot of the party boundaries, so it's funny how you reconnect with people and seeing them.
Yeah, people that we've seen around the areas for a long time, either in local government or ex-federal ministers we've had in here today. It's been really, really interesting.
Yeah, certainly. Now, I always think it's nice to paint a picture of who we are. I've got my skim flat white, which is my usual caffeinated drink of preference. What are you drinking? You're not drinking anything?
I'm not drinking anything, but no. I definitely wouldn't drink coffee. I love the smell of it, but I can't stand the taste of it. So I could just have hot water, black tea, or I definitely like a hot chocolate, but I would feel very full after too many hot chocolates.
That's true. Now, we've sat together across the table from each other often as political adversaries, and then as friends after council, and now as MP and advisor. I don't think I expected to sit here with you, and I don't think that you did either.
That's for sure.
What did you imagine Parliament was going to be like if it wasn't this?
Well, I don't know. I am shocked that I'm here. I feel very, very very pleased and also very appreciative of the community for giving me a chance to be here, and certainly setting out to try and make sure they know that we're working really hard for them. I guess I had heard about in Parliament itself being quite aggressive, they call it the bear pit. I thought there would be, when watching the political parties, I thought there would be less aggression between them. They're quite opposed no matter what the issue is. And you can see sometimes they actually don't agree with their own party politicking. So that's been really interesting. I think I thought that I would get a little bit more spare time, but literally we're doing bits and pieces continually through the day and having many people come in to meet us. It's also like having a different life when you're in Parliament to when you're in the Electoral Office. I love both, but I miss the other one when I'm not there.
Yeah, and you've got your council stuff as well at the same time, which is also really interesting to watch as a staffer as you're managing that too.
It is really interesting because it's a great transition time. You watch what's told to councillors versus what's told to the MP, and sometimes they get more than I do and sometimes the other way around. I think it's a shame that we're not working a little bit more together, because I think we probably have a lot more to win together.
Absolutely. Do you imagine, how would it have been like if you weren't an independent? Do you think it would have been different for you this time?
Oh, look, it would have had to have been different. When you watch both sides of government and opposition, their whips hand out their roles each day. It not only tells them when they're speaking, but it tells them exactly what they have to say and when they say it. For us as independents, and there's a group of us that sit up the end, we get our times, and that's all we're told. The rest of it is up to us. So we can be flexible and agile and change depending on what the topic is that's happening at the time. We can also be more specific about our electorates versus the rest of them talk about the whole of New South Wales as such. So I guess that's very different to being in a party. I guess the other thing that I note is when I made an amendment to a bill, normally if somebody makes an amendment, it goes through this process that takes hours of debating backwards and forwards between the parties. I put an amendment up and they all agreed, and it was over and done with. And both sides were like, oh, what just happened? Why did we all agree? So I guess that's the thing, that as being in a party, you expect the opposition, no matter which way it is, from the other party. Whereas as an independent, I don't necessarily expect people to, I'll be surprised when it does happen, I'm sure it will, but I don't get opposition from either the opposition or the government.
Yeah. So pulling that amendment apart, just for the listeners' perspective, what happened is that the bill was put, the opposition then voted at the first reading aspect of it. You then moved your amendment. Your amendment becomes the motion then, if you like. The motion was then put, and that audible confusion around where the whips were just looking at each other, and it just went through.
Yeah, what happened? Everybody was amazed, and we all went, oh, job's done.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So if only they get an independent person to move everything in Parliament, maybe that's...
maybe we'd get a lot more through a lot quicker. Yeah.
Right. I think going to more personal aspects and of life, and to give the listeners a little bit of a view of what we're like and what you're like as a person. As we get older, you start to appreciate some of the things that you didn't quite like or didn't quite appreciate as you were younger, or not so much. In your inaugural speech, you said that, and often you say between us, that your time in Granville was very fulfilling for you, and you talk about your family a lot. I want to know about your grandparents in particular, if you imagine them, and what would be the first bit of advice that you would ask of them if you were travelling back in time to meet them?
My grandmother on my mum's side, I would definitely make her teach me how to cook. She could do the loaves and fishes. It didn't matter how many people came through the door, she could make sure everybody had a great meal and everybody was fed and cared for. My grandfather on that side was an engineer, and I really appreciated just watching him, with figures and creating things. I'm still really proud of his achievements when I walk through the zoo gates. The exit gates has Hamilton and Co around the bottom. My other grandparents were very different to them. My grandmother was really good at playing cards and knitting. She used to knit booties for babies, preemie babies. And my grandfather was an engineer. He was a bit of a rough nut, to be honest. He used to like his drink down the pub and smoke and swear and all the rest of it. But what would I ask them? The first bit of advice. I guess I would ask them, I'd ask them what they would think about me being in Parliament. I don't think they could stretch. My mother's family might be able to stretch their imagination that far. I could ask them some things. Some of my grandparents' parents owned thousands of acres of Mulgoa forest in Bent's Basin, and I'd have asked them, please hang on to it for years to come. I would have loved to have fenced it all off and lived in the middle of it with all the natural things that are there. And I'm really not sure. Advice, how to cook and feed families, how to be kind to people. My grandfather, the engineering one, used to, through the Depression, do a lot of work for a lot of other families. He used to support a lot of families financially.
This was in the Granville area?
In Auburn Lidcombe actually. And they used to try and do things for him in return. And they would give them, I guess people don't feel like that they feel like they've got a debt unless they give something. And he had this magical cupboard of artificial limbs and artificial eyes.
Really?
That somebody gave him. We used to play with them as kids. I don't know why. But I guess the fact was he could supply for his own family, but he also stretched out to other families. So I guess that's some advice, or at least I could take heed of how he looked after other people in the community. Yeah.
It's nice. So, job at hand. We're in Parliament at the moment. We're sitting here on a Thursday afternoon. We're waiting for ministers to meet with you. If you think about what the last month and a half's been, because it's only really been since the end of April that you were actually sworn in, when you actually started getting to the office in May. What do you think is your biggest achievement in the last month, going back?
You know, there's been lots of achievements along the way, but to see the smile on a lady's face at our Bowral outreach, a lady who was 89 turning 90, who came in with an issue and something that was really quite minor, you know, for all of us, but to solve her issue and to link her up with some other people and see the smile and the gratefulness on her face, to me was one of my biggest achievements. I mean, we can talk about the Warragamba Dam not being raised, and interestingly, I had a staff member, Sandra, go out with the Minister for Rose Jackson, went up in a helicopter to have a look, and we were just making sure there were no secret announcements about anything to do with the dam wall. So that was really, really good. Obviously, we're pressing ahead with so many other issues that are on the cards, but I guess there's some big ones to start off with. But it's the little ones that are some of my biggest achievements. And I've made some mistakes along the way. I got into trouble today for asking too many questions in one question time. And not in trouble because they know we're newbies and they kind of laugh about it. But once I realised when I kept going in question number, and when they said, whoa, stop, I sort of slunk away from the podium and went back to my seat. But it all got put in anyway.
It did. Yep. The speechwriter was being a little bit adventurous there. I think he was.
I think so.
He was warned about it, but I kind of stretched it still, so that's okay.
Anyway.
If the speaker's listening, I apologise. So on speeches, actually, you know, you're going to look back in 4 years' time on a lot of the speeches, and generally people go back and think about of a member's time in Parliament and what your first term will be like, and they'll look at your inaugural speech. But beyond that, you've made some other speeches, you know, Picton Road, Koalas, Warragamba Dam Wall. What do you think is going to be your favourite that you look back on and the most impactful?
I think being able to use parliamentary privilege in the koala situation, and I can't repeat what I said here obviously, but I think that was amazing to be able to make that statement without any inhibition. I think that was amazing. I think the Picton bypass speech, and obviously my inaugural speech was something that I really enjoyed making, and a lot of that was about thanking people along the way, so that was also good. I've done some about Bowral Hospital. I've done some community recognition for some of the amazing things our community's done. We've talked about ambulance stations that were promised, and I think I get a bit funny when I keep saying, you know, more houses but no infrastructure still, more houses but no infrastructure still. One of the other politicians, the members, said to me, I love your throwaway line. So, yeah, no. There's going to be some that I'll forget and I'll look back at and be really proud of. So far I haven't made any that I shy away from or regret, so I guess that's a really big plus.
Is it, I know not part of the script, but is it awkward in those situations where we're pointing out the inadequacies of previous government or previous decisions? And these are people that you and I have worked with, you know, for and against with different political parties we've both been part of. Is it awkward for you sometimes to meet with people where you've seen them as collaborators, well not collaborators, but you know, colleagues?
I think it's amazing because I watched them pull other politicians up on things they said when they were 18 years old. And I think along the way we all develop and we all change our opinions on things. And it depends what you're advocating for, and sometimes you do have to call out what's been done before. You have to be brave enough to say, they were wrong, but you can also say, I was wrong, and we were wrong. I believe we've been wrong in council with some of the things we've done. So I'm happy to take responsibility for what I've done, but there are times that other people are going to have to forgive me for calling them out.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's very strong. The respect that you're getting across the chamber shows that I don't think anyone's shying away from a lot of the issues, which is good.
And I believe that the independents, whilst they sit together and we don't necessarily talk about the same things, I think because they're acting with respect all the time and not really a political bent on everything, they are gaining respect of both the right and the left sides of Parliament.
Yeah.
I see it when any of them stand up, everybody goes quiet and there's no yelling and screaming like they are when they talk to each other.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
That's why we can get away with triple barrel questions.
Yep.
See? So
Anyway.
All right. Not to give anything away over the next fortnight, but what are you looking forward on speaking on the most? Or?
Well, it's going to be interesting. What I've learnt here is that you have to be repetitive. You have to go over and over the same thing, so things really stick and annoy people to the point where they say, oh God, I need to do something about that. So I guess talking again about koalas, talking about the Picton bypass. I actually think we should rename the Picton bypass to like just a little bridge or something.
The Picton Better Bridge.
The Picton Better Bridge. Because when people think of bypass, they think about a road that goes for, you know, 20 kilometres or something. And my most, you know, what I enjoyed most about that, and I can't take any props into the house, but I really enjoy showing people the Picton of Victoria Bridge and the tunnel and saying, you know, you think we've got it, you know, think I'm complaining about nothing? Yeah. Have a look at this. This is how we commute from one side to the other.
This is actually, this happened yesterday in the meeting with the Minister's office. It happened a week ago as well. I really should save the photos on my phone, but we are showing them these.
And they shut up when they see
they're
it.
Shocked.
They're shocked, but not to forget that we've got Wingecarribee as well, and I actually saw the Wingecarribee administrator and the general manager were in here today talking to all the people on the, I think it's the Canberra southern sort of rock of some description down there. And, you know, we're getting a lot of work done in that area, starting to look at the hospital down there. I haven't yet touched on the train timetables. There won't be much to look at because there's not much, but we will be working in that regard as well in the next couple of weeks.
There was a representation we made, but what you're referring to with the follow-on speeches, I think is really good. A lot of people don't see that as well, that there's work in the Electorate Office that they might come in and talk to you about, and then that forms the basis of a speech, which, as you say, we talk on and on about.
And I do enjoy people popping into the office. I love having Noel at the front desk to, you know, sit and chat to people about what their issues are, people who'd never dared gone into a member's office before. I'm looking forward to the community groups that we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to a work experience student, somebody who just saw politics in the election, and you can see that she's so excited about it. I can see a politician in the future.
Amazing.
So there's so much to look forward to, and I am looking forward to getting back into the electorate tomorrow, back again next week for Parliament, and then we've got July, and they call it the winter break.
Yes.
But to be honest, I have so many meetings lined up, I don't know that you could call it a break.
No, and it's only a 4-week break. They've shortened it as well.
Is that right?
Yeah, the federal guys, they get 6 weeks off or something like that. So yeah, they've got given you a bit of a rough trot. So
well, that's all right. But we've got
fine.
lots of meetings and lots of jobs to do.
Absolutely.
And hopefully in that time we'll have our office at Tarmore completed. So that'll be one thing out of our hair. And we'll start to look at getting these committees, you know, they're really stakeholder, community members coming in and giving us information.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, is there anything else you want to share before we close off on your first episode?
No, except if people want to write into questions or anything, I'll usually answer what's going on. And I'm really keen to keep my community out there updated on what happens in Parliament. They seem like two different worlds, but they're not, they're joined. And I hope to be the conduit between both sides. So really looking forward to catching up with everybody. We've got a ball on Saturday night, and we're off to the art gallery in Bowral tomorrow night.
A light show.
For a light show.
Yes.
There's so much happening out there in the electorate, and I'm looking forward to enjoying that.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Judy. Thank you, everyone.